Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me here on the Greeter YouTube channel. Today we'll be putting together a couple of cards using some new products from our Recollective holiday collection. So first of all, we have a new 4x6 stamp set called Winterland Layers. It comes with a stamping guide. There's some fun layering potential with this set. There's also the matching die, which is it's a pretty large die. There's 6 pieces. And then also we're going to be using the big beautiful bow die. So I'm going to go ahead and set up these images in my MISTI, and you'll see as we go along here how these images can be used on their own to create individual berry branches or greenery sprigs, or they can be layered to create more layered designs. So you'll kind of see as we go along how that's going to work. So I have started by setting up my MISTI with the negative die cut, and I have the layered images in my negative right now, and I'm going to be stamping on those. I have both this leafy branch as well as this pine branch, and I'm using some iced spruce distress oxide ink. Just going to stamp those multiple times to get a nice image that's as dark as I would like it to be. I'm using a sponge dauber to kind of even out that ink. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull these layered die cuts out of the negative, and I'm going to replace them with just the die cuts that are just the single stems. So they fit in the same cutouts here. I can just leave my stamps positioned where they are, and I can drop these other die cuts into that negative instead, and it'll be lined up just right. And so I can go ahead and stamp those, just those greenery images. I'm using Forest Moss and Rustic Wilderness for my ink colors for these two images. And you can see how now I was just able to stamp those individual greenery images. So now I'm going to go ahead and put these layered die cuts back inside. So we're going to continue building those images. So we're going to move on to the next step, which is the twig or branch portion of each image. And I'll go ahead and set that up in my MISTI. So basically these images just layer. So you want to think about that when you're choosing ink colors. I like to choose a little bit lighter, paler ink colors for that first greenery image that we stamped. So I would go with shades of gray, taupe. I even did some in pink, which was really pretty. And then for this twig image, I'm going to choose a darker shade of ink. So I'm going to be using a dark brown ink. Since everything layers, they're really pretty simple to stamp. Not a lot of bits and pieces that need to fit together. It's more of a layered image than that the pieces actually fit together like a puzzle, like some of our other sets. This one is done a little bit differently in that they just layer over the top of each other. So I'm going to give that a couple of impressions to get a nice, clear, crisp, dark image. Then I'm going to go ahead and swap those out. This time we're going to be stamping onto the die cuts that are just the branches. So we're going to leave our stamps where they are, and we're just going to swap out these die cuts. Since our stamps are already positioned, we'll just fit these die cuts into the negative, and everything will be lined up where it should be. Again, I'm going to go ahead and use a dark brown ink. And again, I'll give it a couple of impressions to get a nice, clean, crisp image. The next step would be to add the berries, so I'm going to go ahead and position those on top of my die cuts and put them in my MISTI. I'll go ahead and stamp those onto the branch images. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and swap out the branches, and I'll put in our layered images back into the negative die cuts so that I can stamp the berries onto those as well. Then we also have the details that get added to the inside of the branches, those little bud images. So I'm once again going to set those up in my MISTI and stamp them on both the branch images as well as those layered images. And here you can see all of our images all stamped out. Next, we're going to create a couple of bows using the new Big Beautiful Bow die. I've die cut this from two different colors of cardstock, a red and then a darker kind of a maroon color. And we're going to mix up these pieces to create two-toned bows. So it's pretty easy to see how these pieces layer. So I'm going to just take one set and use as the base and the other set and use as the layers so that both bows are a mix of the red and the burgundy cardstock. So I'm just layering those detailed pieces over the top of the base images using a little bit of liquid glue. Then we can go ahead and attach all of the pieces together. They're very easy to assemble. You just line up that little piece in the center. So it's almost like a little C that's in the center of all of those pieces. And there's a little knot that goes on top. And then there's also the tails. So there's two tails, and those also have that little C tab or crescent tab on the top. Just once again, align those up, and then we'll adhere those to the back side of our assembled bows. So now we're going to go ahead and use all of these elements that we created to put together a couple of cards. I have two panels here that I die cut with our herringbone parquet die from kind of a rustic white cardstock. I'm going to adhere the ribbon strip right down the center. This was die cut using the Big Beautiful Bow die. It's a 5.5-inch strip, so it's perfect for the length of an A2 card. Of course, you can trim it down to fit the short side of an A2 card as well, but it is long enough to stretch across the 5.5-inch side of an A2 card. So I'm adhering that down the center, and then I'm going to build some bouquets on the top using all of those elements that we stamped using the Winterland Layers stamp set. I just kind of played around with it until I had an arrangement that I liked and used some liquid glue to attach everything. And then I just went ahead and topped it off with our Big Beautiful bows. I also wanted to add some sentiments, and the little tag that's included in the Big Beautiful Bow die is perfect for stamping some small sentiments. So I have this Noel sentiment. This is from the Winterland Layers stamp set, and I stamped that using kind of a gold ink onto these little tags. And then I'm going to go ahead and take some linen string and string that through those, and then I will layer it over the top of our bow, and I'm going to use a piece of foam adhesive to place over the top of those strings to secure it in place, and then I will add an extra knot die cut over the top of that to just cover that up and make that look nice and neat. And then a little piece of foam adhesive on the tag itself to hold it into place. I attached these two panels to card bases, and they're all finished. The new products I showcased in today's video are part of our Recollective Holiday Collection, and these will be available for purchase beginning at 10 a.m. on October 6th, that's Friday, October 6th, from thegreetery.com.